Hello and welcome. We have an ad location video for something that I just acquired for Flight Simulator 2020, and that is my home airport and base for most of my try and flies. And anyway, my home airport. Munich, Echo Delta Delta Mike from Simwings / Aerosoft. Just came out shortly before Christmas for FS2020. I'm already on the latest version of 2020. You have no choice anyway, version 12 something. And I thought I'm going to give you a little tour around this airport to show you what they have created here. So let me quickly show you a little nav map. What you can see is until before I installed this scenery, we had a lot of, or we didn't have a lot of gates. We actually had a few ill-named positions, basically maybe a quarter of available positions in real Munich. Taxiways and so on were also marginal, so they did it as a half hours. It was okay. So the bridges and the streets going under the bridges and things like that weren't modeled at all. Obviously, it's a default scenery, and it's not one of those manually tweaked and optimized sceneries that we have. For example, I think they did that for Frankfurt and for some major airports. So Munich wasn't really very good. It was okay, but it wasn't really perfect. Now with Simwings coming out here with EDDM, I think things have changed, and I'm going to fly, or well, not fly, but roll with you, taxi with you here over the airport. We are actually at the moment on Apron 5, which is basically an apron for business jets and smaller jets. I've just mastered now the drones. It took me a long time to figure out how I can manipulate views, the outside views, like the way you can see it here now. It's still not perfect. It's not like I'm used to it, but it's almost like it. So yeah, we're going to use these new view modes that I found out now to look around. So we are here on Apron 5. As I say, there are some hangars here. These are for the business jets and smaller jets. You usually wouldn't find Lufthansa machines here, although in these times you never know. Could be that they have parked the odd regional jet or something in this corner. There isn't really that much operations at Munich Airport. There is some operations, but now with the lockdown, we are in December here. With the new lockdown, I guess also travel activities have reduced a lot again. So let's have a look and at Munich Airport. We are, by the way, we are in this little, I forgot its name. It's one of those standard aircraft of Microsoft FS2020. As I say, I have forgotten the name. The Icon. I think it's Icon A5 or something. Yeah, that's it. Icon A5. It's a very small single propeller. I think it's an amphibious thing. Not that we have water where we can land on. Just wonder, there may be a lake we can try that. No, not for this tour. The thing is, I can't switch easily between views now because drone mode and external mode and so on. I always need to switch to the outside camera, and then I can switch back into the cockpit. So it's a bit weird. Okay, here you can see also the airport diagram now, which has really changed, and we are a bit more realistic now. And we're going to release the parking brake, and we're going to look around. Need to provide quite a bit of power for this thing to start rolling. Probably is because the propeller isn't very big and the motor is probably not very strong. So it takes quite a bit of rotations before it starts rolling. So here we are now coming out. This is on Delta 6, blue line. And you can see these hangars. So this is all very realistic. And I have to say the quality is pretty good. We're going to taxi down now this new satellite terminal building that they have opened a few years ago. There used to be, well, it's kind of outer positions here before that. So they had some buildings there, but these were just for staff and for machinery and who knows. But that wasn't for the passengers. The passengers would deboard the plane there would be some fingers there, some jetways, but you would immediately then walk down and go and hop onto a bus. There would have always been bus operations between these terminals. And then they extended the building. They added the satellite. There is now a train going between Terminal 2 and the satellite. And I can tell you it takes quite some time, depending on where you are, what your gate is, to move onto Terminal 2 and then all the way to the satellite. So that can take a considerable amount of time, which should be, which as a passenger you need to be aware of that. So you shouldn't really wait too long. Yeah, so that looks quite nice. Also, I think the color of the outside buildings that could actually be, I can't actually remember. I haven't really been there for quite some time now due to the travel restrictions. I haven't really been traveling for a year now. I haven't been flying now for over a year. Yeah, these are outer positions, but I'm not sure if they are still used, but you can see. So what is this here? This is 321, so outer positions where you definitely need a bus to get to the terminal. We are on Echo 3, I think. Yeah, this is taxiway Echo 3 going along the satellite here. This looks really good. This looks really good, yeah. And it reminds me a lot on the Mr. X short final design in X-Plane. In my eyes, in my view, they are on par when it comes to the looks and the quality. The thing is, in FS2020, you not only have now a very good-looking Munich airport, but you definitely have a extremely good-looking outside around the airport at Munich and so on. That's one of the big, huge advantages of this simulator. There are a lot of things that I'm really getting mad about in this simulator, so not everything is great, at least not yet. But the looks, the outside views, and just the immersion kind of is amazing. So really like this here. Yeah, good quality modeling. Now you know that I am completely independent. I'm not getting paid for this. I bought this airport myself, so. But I like it very much. That's just the truth. It's just a fact. This has nothing to do with me being influenced in any shape or form. It seems that the frame rates are okay on this airport. I tried it with the A320, which didn't work after the update because I had the mod, and the mod in its version that I had wasn't, somehow stopped working when the update came out shortly before Christmas. The usual thing. We're going to have to get used to this for quite some time until the SDK and everything stabilizes. It's just the way it is. So we are now in Delta 3. As most main taxiways, there are 3 lines: the orange line, the blue line, and the yellow line, and they are there to kind of help with coping with huge amounts of taxi traffic, because you can have actually aircraft traveling on the different lines, also possibly having to do with the size of the aircraft. So your instructions would usually be taxi blah blah blah, yellow line or orange line or blue line, and then you would take D3 blue line for example. The middle is always the yellow line, and then we have left and right. That's usually the left, I think, is the orange line, and closer to the terminal is usually the blue line, if I remember correctly. So here's the main terminal, Terminal 2. So I'm going to taxi along the front line of the satellite. This almost sounds like a car, doesn't it? Yeah, it also has probably something like a car motor. So here you can see the satellite now from the front, basically. Again, very nice. You can see the insides. You can see the... Well, I'm not sure if this is actually accurate or if this is just some inside pattern that looks good, but may not be realistic. I don't care really, because I'm usually not in terminal buildings in the simulators. What for, anyway? Here's the center part. Okay, then you have triple gates, triple jetways, yeah, for the very big aircraft, and then single ones, double ones. They depend a little bit on the type of aircraft that needs to dock there. So I'm going to now taxi over to the Terminal 2. The gates seem to work, so the taxiways would actually come up when you call for them. This is all a little bit different in this simulator. So I actually had to call for them. They don't just automatically attach like we are kind of used to in other simulators. But they seem to work. So I had, with the A320, I had already the jetway finding it. The 747 doesn't work because somehow the 747 doesn't seem to be worked out well enough. There doesn't seem to be doors and things like that. At least not doors that it can recognize, so I could only make this work with the A320. So here's 214, yeah, there's a double, here's the center again. And I'm not sure, but I think this is something that had been extended because that's where you go down. There's a huge stairway and escalators and yeah, and that's where you actually go down and go towards the train, and the train will then bring you over to the satellite in the other direction. So we are on Whiskey 2 here, going south. And we're almost now at the end here of the building, and one thing I'm going to do too is there is a little apron just behind the main building, and there used to be a lot of the 146s, the British Aerospace Avro RJs of Lufthansa would be parked here, and smaller regional jets, City Line and things like that. This terminal, by the way, is for Star Alliance, Lufthansa basically. So all Star Lines like Aegean. And with the satellite, what happened is that, let's say, the prime positions, the close positions, were probably reserved for Lufthansa, and let's say airlines that are probably willing to pay a little bit more, and all those Star Alliance partners that want to save some money, they actually usually get probably positioned at the satellite. At least I have made this experience. All these not so important connections and Aegean and so on, they all would end up on the satellite, which means you always have to count at least 10 to 15 minutes longer to get to your gate than it used to be. So being in Terminal 2 and being through the security and all wasn't the end of the of the game. You had to walk and go and just calculate this time, so don't be too close to your departure. So I'm going to go over the bridge now, and then we are going to take the South Taxiway Sierra and drive forward to the Terminal 1 area. What they haven't done here is the new construction site on the on the old Apron. They have not included this. So we're now on Sierra, or we get onto Sierra now, and we're going to go towards Terminal 1 or towards the 08 runway. I'm going to take Sierra here. We're on Sierra 7 at the moment, as you can see. That's why I left Navigraph turned on. And you can see that there is actually traffic going under the bridges. And this looks really, really good. Let's do the following. I'm going to quickly bring darkness to the simulator, just to show you here what that looks like. You see cars driving, you see the lights on the roads and under the bridges. That's actually pretty accurate. So we're approaching Sierra 6 now. We're going to go into Sierra 6 and we're going to take Charlie 4. Actually, no, let's continue and let's go to the maintenance, the Lufthansa Technik and cargo area. So here's the old Apron. Here's the old Apron. So we're past Sierra 6 now, Sierra 5, and a bit further on, we're going to come to the cargo area. That's gates 901 to 907. And it's the Lufthansa cargo buildings also. So let's go in here. There's a bit of flickering, but that's a general thing that I can't really get on my low resolution that I have. I can't really get it, the anti-aliasing and all, although it's I have it in the highest mode, just doesn't really work here. And I also have some strange effects, but that's the flight simulator, not the scenery, when it comes to shadows and things like that. Yeah, well, I got used to it now. That's okay, that's not too bad. So here we have the cargo areas with the cargo gates. Lighting and all is done very well, which is not a surprise because in this simulator they have everything that you need. So you didn't need to invent the wheel anew. This is all built into the possibilities that you have in the simulator. I think I need to be careful. Yeah, okay. So let's. So that's the Lufthansa cargo area, and when we travel on a bit more, we're getting towards the two large hangars of the Lufthansa Technik. That's where all the maintenance takes place. So we were just past Apron 9 and now comes Apron 7 and 6, which are basically the Technik hangars here. Yeah, and they kind of shine through, so you can see that there's a big hall inside. It's just no airplane or nothing. So they haven't modeled really any airplanes inside the maintenance, which is okay. I mean, as I say, I'm usually not inside the buildings. I actually wonder if you can drive into those buildings. I mean, I have detection of collision off, so theoretically I could probably very realistically drive through this, and then we can have a look what this looks like. Let's go inside, just out of curiosity. Yeah, as I thought. This is just the building. Okay, so there's nothing modeled in here, which is okay. So what you see from the outside is actually an image, and it seems to be a repeated one in the glass. Sort of the glass has these, so it looks like there is something in there which actually isn't. So they fake the inside by doing it via the glass screens, which I think is that's okay. So it's a decent enough effect that we can have here. So these were the 600. That here is, I think it's kind of a test area here for engines or something. I think this part, if I remember correctly. Okay, so let's go back towards the old Apron, the Terminal 1 area. So I think we need to roll back here. I'm going to take the same taxiway we used to come here. Yeah, here you can see again how they did that, kind of the glass effects, which kind of fake a little bit that there is something inside. And also the lighting effect comes from the glass, not so much from the inside of the building. So it's a nice trick which looks okay and probably doesn't use too much resources. So going back again via apron 6, 7 and 8 and apron 9, that's the cargo apron. And there at the front I'm going to get out onto Sierra again, then we take Sierra 5 into the old apron. Now in reality, about half of the Terminal 1 area is as apron 1. That's also because that was the original apron when the airport was built. This year, not this year, yeah, this was 2 at the beginning, I think, but where we're going to drive now was apron 1. That was the original, because originally the airport had only 1 terminal. That was what is now called Terminal 1. There weren't 2 terminals. And yeah, it was kind of an airport of the short paths. You didn't really have to walk a lot. You had 5 or 6, so it was A to E or A to F entries and also gate areas. And yeah, at the time when it was built in the 90s, that was quite nice. It was kind of short. You didn't have to walk that much, so everything was relatively close by. But it got too crowded eventually because, yeah, air traffic has increased, the number of passengers have increased, and the original terminal building got, yeah, a bit too small. So they started building the Terminal 2. I'm not sure when they finished it. I think was it in the 2000s or was it still in the 90s? I can't really tell you. Which is much bigger, and as you can see, it's a huge new one. There's shops there. There's all kinds of things. There's a nice big square that they built. So this here is basically the old world, and we're going to taxi now towards Charlie 3. And basically what happens now is half of this apron is a big construction site, because before Corona they decided that they need to also increase yeah, number of gates and passenger areas also for this older terminal, because the original was not, yeah, wasn't really very good for managing larger number of passengers. So here from slightly up from C3, everything that is basically now towards the right and right up to the gates, all of that is now a construction site, and these gates are not available anymore. So on the real airport, you wouldn't be able to use these upper gates, which happen to be okay now, because basically the currently lost gates that are not usable due to the construction site, they are not needed at the moment. So most airplanes would now be parked here at the outer positions in Munich. Yeah, so let's go back to daylight, and then we'll have a quick look at. There's the visitor area, and here too, yeah, you can see it here. I'm going to taxi north a little bit so that you can see it. There is this visitor kind of observer hill there. You can walk up there, and then you can look at the airport from up there. And below that is a little museum. They have a super constellation, Junkers, I think, a U-52, and I forgot, was it the DC-3 or something like that? So there are a number of old vintage aircraft. There's a little museum. You have to pay entrance fees. Yeah, you can see I think you can see the Tante U there, the U-52. Yeah, the rest we would need to kind of get into the air, and why don't we try that? From here, so this is not a realistic flight, okay, for those purists among you. So, and up we go. It's the first time I actually fly with this aircraft. This might not work. I've probably trimmed it correctly. I hope the trim is working. Actually, is it working? No, it's not. Let's bring in the gear. Doesn't look like the trim is working. Ah, now it is. Okay. Let's try and kind of keep 80 knots. And here we now see this whole area here. This is the Technic and cargo. And below us is the entrance road. Quickly move to the outside. So there, here to our left, this is the main road that goes onto the Deggendorf motorway. Yeah, you can see here, this is the Lufthansa Technik area we've just been. Here's the big M when you come towards the airport. There's also the S-Bahn. You can see the tracks here, which is the train connection from Munich. And so that's all very well done. It looks pretty authentic to me. Really like it. So let's try and get to that visitor area. So this is this new drone mode. I'm going to use that now. Huh. There we go. There's the Connie. So the Connie with the 4 engines, and I think this is a DC3, but I couldn't actually see it now. Let's see. Can look back. Yes, I think it's a DC3. Yeah, and here's the center area between Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. All the parking. These are all the parking buildings. And the main center area with this roof there, it's open. And they have, like, on Christmas, they have things there. And I guess now at the moment, all of that is closed because due to Corona. But usually there's quite a bit of stuff going on. So you can spend some time there. You can even go shopping. I think even on Sundays shops are open. It's a bit like in Zurich. Yeah, and you can see how the cars really go under the bridges here. That really works. So they have modeled that quite realistically. Yeah, and let's have a very quick look, because that's one of the things that do work in snow depth. Let's make snow. Sort of, yeah, so let's increase, so that's covered completely. Now, a little bit unrealistic is that all your taxiways are covered in snow. That would normally not be the case, because they would have really cleared them up. But yeah, that's kind of winterish. That's in the times between snowfalls, when the temperatures have been not warm enough to let it melt all over. Yeah, okay. It still looks much better than any kind of snow stuff that... so this would be completely snowed in. Yeah, well, that the runway is under snow would not be realistic. So that's the only thing. I don't think that the runway is slippery, or I hope not. But you would actually see the runway. That's not 100% realistic. You wouldn't really have everything under snow. Not at an airport like this. Yeah. But still, winter in Flight Simulator 2020. And that is it. The Simwings Munich. There's a prepared version 4 and 5 for this as well. If you happen to have the prepared version, you can get the FS2020 version for a reduced price. I didn't have it, and I don't want to invest in prepared anymore, especially because it is actually a bit more expensive than this one here. And the price reduction I would get for the FS2020 it wouldn't make sense to just buy the prepared version, just to get a cheaper FS2020. So it was cheaper to buy it just like that. I do have a Taxi to Gate Munich for prepared. It's not as good as this, definitely, but it's okay. It's all I need for prepared, and I don't need to invest another 30 or 35 or so euro to get it. This is Freising up there. Yep. Okay, so that's it. That's Munich from Simwings. And I'm really, really, really glad that we have now proper Munich with proper taxi ways, with proper stands, and with nice and good-looking buildings and good night lighting and all that. Yeah, so all the future try and flies will now be out of this airport, as I do it on my other simulators, and we shall be having more of that in the future. Thanks very much for watching. I hope it wasn't too boring. Until next time.